look at bad things that happen to people in life, most people react. They have knee-jerk reactions, and everyone knows what it feels like. If you are really aware of feelings that are happening inside your body, when you get overwhelmed, when you get anxiety, when you have fear happen, when you get upset, when you get pissed, when you want to punch the wall, all that starts as a feeling somewhere in your body. It's some response, actually a physical response. The game has really helped me identify that quickly as a trigger that goes off. And once that trigger goes off, for me, it might be a heartbeat in my throat. It's almost a blood pressure feeling that's filling me up. I no longer need to emotionally respond to that feeling and react. I can sit back and I've gamified a system and a process. I take a deep breath, I flood my body with oxygen. I'll do it right here in front of you. I just leave it in and I leave it out. I bleed it in, I leave it out. The point is this, it doesn't matter how bad the thing that happens is. When you can gamify any situation so that you can preserve the most precious thing you own, which is your emotions, and you can look at it like this. That guy didn't screw me over. That thing didn't just happen to me. Like, none of this is bad. All this is the game. The universe just played a good chess move against me. It allows me to take back and take full control of the power. Once I have the power, I am literally dangerous. I am so dangerous when you cannot fuck with my mind. I call it unfuckable with. I'm unfuckable with because I do not allow any external things to overtake me anymore.
Hey, welcome to our next episode of Man on a Mission. Today's topic is titled Awakening the Leader Within. I'm really pumped because I'm going to interview my partner in crime, Erik Rock, here on leadership. And I've heard some fragments of a couple stories I want him to elaborate on. And so I thought we'd start right there, Erik. Let's talk about leadership today. I know you're preparing an incredible talk. It's coming in a month from now to sales leader in real estate out of state. Where are you going?
Yeah, Park City,
Utah.
Mm-hmm. Sundance.
So this has been something you've been contemplating, chewing on. Mm-hmm. You embody leadership to me. I've had the privilege to see you in all kinds of business situations, coaching people, and then of course collaborating on this show. So I'm excited to dive into this and to really kind of get a look under the hood. We're going to look under the hood at Erik Rock right now in terms of what are his standards, his rules, how he operates. I haven't heard the full expression of this, so let's dive in. What's the first thing that comes to mind to open this topic of leadership? What comes to mind?
Well, I will start by saying we are not alone with just Erik Rock in the room. We have the man here. We want to give some love to our man who represents the greatest version of ourselves, the person we're always chasing. I don't know if I'll ever quite reach him, but there he is.
He's taller than you.
We had to give a tribute. And yeah, leadership's important. The whole name of the show being Man on a Mission. I mean, at the core of this whole thing, there's got to be a great leader in there. There's a man or woman that is out there impacting the world, and that exemplifies great leadership, first and foremost. And so as we talk about leadership, it's really important to sort of like get clarity on what that looks like in your own life. Everyone, in my opinion, should be striving to be the ultimate version of themselves. And if that's true, then you should be striving to be a leader. It's in some domain in your life, if not all domains. It's really hard to describe great leadership. When you're around it, you know it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Like
you feel it. It's so much more than just actions. Yeah. It's an aura. It's an energy. It's a long track record. You know what I mean? It's failure. You feel the scar tissue in a person. Great leadership is something that it's very hard to just blasé write it out, because I felt leadership in my life. I was trying to, as I'm preparing for my big talk, I put a lot of thoughts into what leadership looks like, what it smells like, what it feels like. And a lot of it is an essence that even at a young age I sensed, but I really couldn't describe. But I knew it was there.
You recognize it.
I knew it was there.
Yeah.
You know, so when preparing for the speech, I really thought about a lot of people that I knew, great leaders that I'd read about, trying to really formulate, like, what's the thing? Like, I wanted to do, like, really tell a story that was different. My first thought when I was thinking about leadership was really thinking about all the people in life that never become leaders. I actually started sort of there. And it's not a bad thing necessarily. You know, there's some of the people that I love more than any people in the world that I would take a bullet for and jump in front of. Like, they never found their voice. They were really trapped by fears and scared to jump out in front of the light, which is very necessary for great leadership to take place. My story of my grandma that is really dear to my heart was something that really came to the top of my mindset when I was considering like all the things that are absent in leadership and all the things that are obvious in leadership. And for my grandma, I never really knew her that well, the way I thought I did, until I did something. My mentor, Ed Milet, told me to interview my dad. It was some advice that he'd given me. And so I never have done that yet. I still plan to do it, but I did execute that idea on my grandma. Last summer, she came up to visit me. It's been, 30 years or something since she's been on a plane.
Oh, wow.
She found the courage to kind of jump on a plane and come visit me in North Idaho and the rest of our family. And it was really special to me. So I did take that opportunity to sort of like look at this as an interview. It was just me and her out on our deck looking at the lake. And I asked her some really powerful questions. Questions I would have never thought to ask her, like who her first kiss was, her first love, who were her parents. I knew nothing about her parents. I knew my great-grandma a little bit, but you really don't know. Like so many young kids out there, like, hi, grandma, how are you? That's really the extent of how far they dig. Yeah. Because they're at that stage of life where they're just grandmas. They're just loving grandmas. I didn't see the fears and the trouble that she had in life, all the pain and the failure and all the, her father was an alcoholic. I didn't know that. It's hard to know how someone becomes a leader unless you know the full story. Oftentimes it's the childhood that either holds someone back or that propels someone forward. The roots of a person you can really tie to their childhood. But my grandma, I'll make this quick, but I asked her some really tough questions. One of the questions I asked her was, Grandma, do you think you've lived all your dreams? And the second I asked her that, it was sad. I wanted to pull the question back immediately. It really, I never seen my grandma's face quite turn like that. And it really broke my heart because I love her so much and she's an amazing person. But this is her experience, her reality, her world. Like these are her regrets. I didn't know what was there, but she took me to a story about her childhood, the 8-year-old grandma who had an alcoholic, abusive father. Yeah. Her mother never said much because she was scared and just went with the program, maybe turned her head a lot. But at the end of the day, my grandma had an opportunity to dance. She thought she was a really good dancer. She'd been sneaking away, learned how to dance, something like that. But some dance studio person had absorbed her, pulled her in Brooklyn, New York. And she went to her dad and said, hey, your daughter has some talent here. And this for an 8-year-old little girl, just think about like all of a sudden, like her dream is unfolding as a child. Mine was baseball at 8 years old. Like I knew exactly what I wanted to do. But when you're a child and you have a dream and you have a fantasy, like it becomes powerful, right? Her dad squashed that dream quick. He basically came out and said, dancing is for whores. Wow. Just crushed her dream right there. You'll never dance again. Like it's not going to happen. Make a long story short, it's amazing when you ask someone like your grandma who's so dear to you, do you feel like you've lived your dreams? And she takes you right to her 8-year-old self.
Yeah. Was she pretty emotional?
She cried. I cried with her. I held her. She said a few powerful words to me that have sat with me ever since. She says, Erik, I could have been somebody. I really could have been someone. That just broke my heart. She is somebody, and she's amazing. Yeah. She doesn't know how much she's given the world, but the big question is this.
Regret in her.
The regret. How many people are going to get to the end of their life and have like regret for things they didn't do, for fears that trapped them, for all the things that constrict people? Leadership is really important. You have to be willing to step into the light, to face a bunch of fears, to get in front of a bunch of people. You got to get people to move. You got to get people to change their opinions and think outside the box. You have to become a force field. Being a great leader is hard. It's not easy. But first, before you can go out and impact the world, before you can change the world, you really have to really focus and change yourself. And
you got to pursue your aim, which you're
100%. Yeah. You got to master yourself, because if you don't, people will see right through it. Here's this one side of my grandma. I'm trying to think who else in my life has a story that exudes something that's valuable that I can pull, and I couldn't help but go right to my uncle who passed away just a few years ago. His name was Erik Rock. He was my dad's oldest brother. He was a full bird colonel in the military. and really an amazing man, but he's someone that I always knew at a young age exuded great leadership. He commanded the room. He was a very short man, leathery skin, stern face, solid as a rock. I mean, his name was fitting, Dick Rock. I mean, Richard Rock is his name, but went by Dick. But I mean, what an intense human he was. Now, my first memory of my Uncle Rich, my very first memory of him, I remember it vividly as I sort of play this backwards in my mind. It was at a Little League baseball game. I think my brother was playing it, and I was like either on the bench or in the bleachers. I don't know exactly the position I was in, but I couldn't help but remember this story. It was my first memory of him when I was probably 8 years old. And I had just been my mom had just married into the Rock family. I was born Eric Stewart. I never knew my biological father. And so all of a sudden, when she married my stepdad, all of a sudden I had this new family. And so this was sort of my first taste of the Rocks. Yeah, 100%. Look, I'm still talking about today. It had a lasting impact in my life. But I remember we're at this Little League game, and they're playing the national anthem, and everyone stands up, and everyone's got their hands on their heart. They're doing their thing. Can you see? And then there's my uncle. Like, I look down the line of all the people, and there he is. Strict attention, stone-faced, solid as a rock, and tears just pouring down his face. Drip, 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 drip. Vivid as memories I could have. That was my first taste of my uncle. Didn't know what that was. Wouldn't define that as leadership at that age, but I knew it was something different. I just could sense it was something special. Fast forward 20 years, literally 20 years, me and my wife jumped to Notre Dame, go see a football game. They're playing my alma mater for a school that I dropped out of, UNR, which is a once-in-a-lifetime deal for a small school like UNR, University of Nevada, Reno, to be playing a big school at Notre Dame. It was a pretty big deal. So half of Reno went to this game. Yeah. Well, my cousin, Trent, he went to Notre Dame. He's an engineer, lives in South Bend. So all the Rock family got in a plane. We shot over to South Bend, Indiana. We're sitting at the game. My Uncle Rich is there, my Aunt Doris. And national anthem starts playing. I'm 27, 28 years old now. And I look down the line, and there, clear as day, rock solid, a stern face, rock solid man, leathery skin, 5'6" in all his mighty glory, is him saluting the flag. And as he did, I could not help but notice the tears just pouring down his face. Just drip, 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 drip. All right. Fast forward from that. This is the last memory I have, literally, undeniable last memory I have of him actually alive. This is the last time I saw him alive. Wow. Every year for countless years, the Rock boys in the family would get together in the middle of the Nevada desert to hunt a bird called chucker. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of chucker. They're a very hard, painful bird to try to hunt. You really earn it, and I don't really feel bad about shooting at them. I'm not a great bird hunter, because you work so damn hard. They hang out in the high shale cliffs. They chuck, 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 chuck. They talk, and you get close, and they shut up. And then right when you think you're where they should be, they start chucking across the canyon. And you're like, how the fuck did they get over there? They run. They rarely jump up. You need to have a good dog. But we go on these chucker hunting things, and it's all it is for a reason for all the Rock boys to get together. It's a bond. It's just a love thing, and it was really important to my family, and it's really sad now because all these men have passed away. They're moving on. They're aging, and my other uncle had a stroke. It's just hard. It's sad to me. But my last vivid memory, my uncle was on this hunting trip. We were hunting this canyon. It was one of the deepest canyons I've ever remember hunting, in the middle of Nevada desert somewhere. I don't know exactly where we were. I can't quite remember what trip this was, but I do remember this memory. My Uncle Rich, who we're talking about, he stayed high on the ridge line. So I dropped we're hunting this whole canyon this side, all these Rock guys kind of scattered throughout the mountain. He's on the high ridgeline. I'm probably 100 yards below him. My brother Remington's probably another 100 yards below me. My dad and I think Trent were at the bottom of the canyon. I remember that explicitly because my dad always bring his hunting dog, and I remember that dog going back and forth at the bottom of the canyon, so I'm pretty sure they were down there. Yeah. So we really spread out like a big flag and over that hillside. And out of nowhere, this F-18 jet just comes ripping through this canyon. Wow. Really amazing. like low altitude,
Yeah.
like Mach 2, loud as hell.
Yeah.
Just amazing,
Yeah,
right? This
yeah,
is
that
sick
close.
as
Yeah.
fuck. Like,
Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah.
And here comes another one, and another one. And
No
at some
way.
point, I knew, undeniable, they'd seen us. They may be on their radios, because the next 3 or 4, I mean, they just like right through this canyon. It was so cool to see stuff like this. Like, gets me all jacked up. But they started flapping their wings at us on this hillside. We're all waving. We got the orange hats and shit,
awesome.
you know. So we stand out like a sore thumb on
They
this.
spot at you.
Yeah, they're waving. So, but something just pulled at me, and I kind of pulled back, and I looked up at the top of that ridge line, and standing there, I don't know why I would do that shit. It's just it's a good memory. I'll get through this. On the side of that hillside at the ridgeline, I could see the silhouette of his body. Just a shadow, and locked stern. He had his hand and attention.
That's powerful.
I could feel the sternness of his face, although I couldn't see it. And I don't know this for a fact, but I guarantee you there was tears flooding down his face. The same tears that had been there when I was 8 years old, same tears that were there when I was 28, and the same tears that were there when I was 35. But when you think about leadership, there's just things that are hard to describe. And I will tell you, I don't think that even then I fully understood it. I don't think I understood it with this man until I actually went to his funeral in Colorado Springs. He had an amazing military funeral. And I was blown away by how many incredible people were there, how many highly decorated individuals there. So he was a full bird colonel. He retired right before making general. He led many men and women over the years.
Yeah.
He should have gone to general, and he talks about that a lot, but he had friends in high places like Colin Powell all the way up to the top of the food chain.
Yeah.
But when you think about the essence of a man and really what they stood for and who they are, just go to their funeral when they pass away, and you'll get a real sense. It really helped me connect all these dots to my uncle when I heard countless people get up to the podium and give their testimony to my 5'6" or 7", small, stern little uncle, tan, leathery skin, just solid as a rock. Like when you hear the testimony over and over and over again, it all made sense. That kind of love and devotion to something, the commitment levels that you have to have of a lifetime of serving and giving, that's great leadership.
You nailed it. I mean, one of our previous guests on the show, Cody Alford, one of the fastest accelerated men in the Marines to hit targets as a sniper and as a leader. It reminds me when he was talking about this, that great leadership is not possible without a deep love and respect among your brothers.
100%.
I mean, if that many people came to his funeral,
it was amazing.
And what did you? It reminds me of that gospel. What is it? John 15. Greater. There's no greater love than this, that a man lay down his life for his brother. And something I've always envied on the outside, because I haven't been in the military. It seems like people like your uncle tap into that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my fantasy of the tears we'll never know. But so
I don't know you're right. I don't know what fears and pain and I don't know what loss was trapped in those tears, but the devotion and the love and the commitment and the nature of how he gave constantly to lead others, to inspire others. You got to think you're inspiring them and leading them potentially to their death. That comes with a very heavy weight.
Yeah.
When you protect freedom and all that America stands for, I mean, it's complex for sure. We just learned this.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, it's a heavy burden and it's a commitment like maybe we'll never understand. But it's leadership.
Tell me more about the funeral. Did you have an opportunity to hear things or share things yourself?
Yeah, I got up and spoke myself. I told this story. This was how I remembered him. It was the best way I could find to sum up his life. And there was a lot of tears in the audience when I told that story. There was just, it was a really great way to give him a tribute. But leadership is, you can't have a mission worthwhile in life without really confronting the demands of what it's going to take to be a great leader.
Let me ask you a question on that. I've heard you speak before to this basic distinction that the first requirement of leadership, more or less, is for you to become that which you're leading about.
100%. You must become the thing.
Literally become the thing. So I know that you've talked often about your own kind of guiding principles, standards, rules.
Yeah, I have a lot.
So go there. Like what do you mean by that? Become the thing.
Well, I'll start with this. This won't take too long, but I'm pretty complex in how intentional I am about a lot of things. As I started finding wins in my life that really stemmed from loss and pain and just finally committing to something, I inadvertently created rules for my life, sort of standards for how I do everything. And one of the biggest hurdles that I want to start with that you really have to be intentional about is controlling your emotions. You've got to be an emotionally stable human if you want to lead people beyond yourself. It's already hard enough to just lead yourself and your family.
Yeah.
But to lead other people, to be a voice in the community, to give back, like all these things, like to step in the light the way I want to, I realized, like, especially as I got close to people that were doing this kind of stuff, it became very clear that they all had systems and processes in their life that they lived and died by. Now, for me, one of the things that was incredibly helpful is like bringing a lot of tactics into my life that really kept me going one direction. Gamifying life is something I talk about a lot, and it has been a game changer. So before I sort of set up the rules for the game, first I want to make it clear we're all playing a game.
What's the context?
Whether you realize it or not, this is all a game. And when you look at the people at the top of the food chain, you ever hear them say, look at the scoreboard? Money's just a tool. All money is it keeps score for them. Like they're playing the game and they love it. And it's how they stay emotionally stable. When I look at bad things that happen to people in life, anything bad that happens, most people react. They have knee-jerk reactions, and everyone knows what it feels like. If you are really aware of feelings that are happening inside your body, when you get overwhelmed, when you get anxiety, when you have fear happen, when you get upset, when you get pissed, when you want to punch the wall, all that starts as a feeling somewhere in your body. It's some response, actually a physical response. The game has really helped me identify that quickly as a trigger that goes off. And once that trigger goes off, for me, it might be a heartbeat in my throat. It's almost a blood pressure feeling that's filling me up. I no longer need to emotionally respond to that feeling and react. I can sit back, and I've gamified a system and a process. I take a deep breath. I flood my body with oxygen. I'll do it right here in front of you. I just leave it in, and I leave it out. I bleed it in, I leave it out. And in that process, it's just triggering off another series of actions. And I look at the whole thing. It doesn't matter if someone fucked me over, someone just crashed into my car, someone pissed on my shoe, and I'm in the toilet.
Powerful. Yeah.
And there's a guy next to me, which happened to me once. Like literally, he's peeing on my foot. This is a true story. Like that instinct to want to go nuts. Just some rude asshole that just doesn't realize you're not peeing in the toilet, you're on my foot. Like that happened at an airport to me.
Yeah.
But the point is this, doesn't matter how bad the thing that happens is, when you can gamify any situation so that you can preserve the most precious thing you own, which is your emotions, and you can look at it like this, that guy didn't screw me over, that thing didn't just happen to me, like none of this is bad. This is the game. The universe just played a good chess move against me. It allows me to take back and take full control of the power. Once I have the power, I am literally dangerous. I am so dangerous when you cannot fuck with my mind. I call it unfuckable with. I'm unfuckable with because I do not allow any external things to overtake me anymore. And I had to work this out. This is a muscle. You can ask my wife in the evolution of Erik Rock, and she'll tell you, like year in and year out, I got so much more intentional about small details. Yeah. And it really broke down to emotional stability and control. I can still be intense. I can still fire off and hit, but it's all from a place of knowing that I'm playing a game. It's all
that must free. I mean, that frees you up powerfully because it
withdraws
you to the
freedom.
It's like you're in the movie or watching the movie.
100%. It's
And
totally
so
different.
when you're playing a game, you're watching the movie, and yeah, there's emotions. There's a character, a car ran someone over. But when you're watching the movie, man,
exactly,
you can. So what are the, I know you live by standard. If you're playing a game, like if you're playing a game with kids, let's as an example, like you go out, hey guys, you want to play a game? They're gonna go, yeah. Then the next question is a big one. Well, what are the rules of the game?
Right, there's always rules.
You
always have to have some ground rules.
Yeah, give us those riverbanks.
Well, let me just
in the context of leadership.
Let me just cap the game here and say, anytime something bad happens to you, imagine a chessboard. Let a trigger go off. Anytime you feel it here in your stomach, wherever you feel it, before you go hit the wall, I want you and have a knee-jerk reaction that's just bizarre, which I see all the time in other people now. It is so easy to spot. Take a deep breath and look at it as like your opponent is supposed to be kicking your ass. It's supposed to be pouring its heart and soul on how to get you cornered. Yeah, that's its job. You don't need to blame anyone. It really takes the victimhood out of every decision in your life. Yeah. Because the second it's the universe playing a move against you, you can sit back and go, ooh, you motherfucker, what a good move that was. Let me think here. Okay. Like, what would a good move be now? Like, a good move is not going to be punch a wall, hurt my fist, look like an asshole, embarrass my wife. A good move is going to be boom, check.
Yeah.
And now I put it back in your lap. I just responded in kind.
Yeah.
And I stripped the bad emotions out of it. The other thing I do as part of this game is I think about death a lot. And it's become one of the biggest gifts. I've talked about this a lot. It's been one of the biggest gifts. At first, it was a detriment. I used to start thinking about death a lot. I've lost all these key people in my life that really started making me realize how precious time is. Time is such a fleeting thing. And I started thinking about my deathbed, what it's going to look like, how it's going to feel, like how scary it's going to be. Like thinking about people that I'd watched on their deathbed in this last decade, which was a lot of people. And I had to grapple with this. But the great part about me, I feel like, is I will grapple with something until I come up with a solution. And the only solution you can come up with death, because it's inevitable, it's going to happen, is I had a soul search in a lot of different places. My faith, I had to look at all these key components, because before that, I never thought about it. I thought I was invincible, I live forever. But now it's actually a gift now. I've reframed the whole thing. The fact that I'm, number one, gamifying life, and number two, the whole idea that I'm going to die anyway.
There's a clock on the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It allows me to pull right back to this moment and do the thing anyway. Yeah. But now I do it without the fear disappears.
I love it. If I was playing a game and I saw a literal clock, you bet damn well I'm going to be very clear and focused.
It's different. It changes how you do life.
The death, it clicked, like the death plus game combo.
Yes, it works together.
It gives a laser focus. Yeah. Like if I'm playing a game and you don't have to win within 60 minutes, but if I have to win within 60 minutes, yes. Like I'm like laser.
This is it.
I love it.
This is the deal. So death and a chessboard can literally be the catalyst to change your life. It is such a powerful combination. Forget the rules, which I'm going to tell you in a minute. Those are the add-on layers that I placed on it just to always make sure I'm in alignment, and there's always a barometer for how I make decisions without thinking about it. I don't want to think about decisions. So I created rules for my life. These are non-negotiables. These are in no particular order, but I want to share them with you because I think it's going to give you a really good feel for how much clarity you need in life. And the first rule number one, is clarity. In every situation, every room I walk into, even this podcast, we want clarity. What's the outcome we're looking for? We want intentionality as part of rule one. Clarity and intentionality. We want to always be intentional. We always need clarity. We always need to know what we're looking for in every situation, every meeting, every goal. We must get clarity. And you got to work this out. But if you're thinking about it and it's a rule, it sort of just becomes a thing. I walk in a room, what do I want? Yeah. What do you want? Yeah. You cut the fat. It gets to the brass tacks.
It gets you out of vagueness.
100%, and it works. It's a valuable one. Rule number 2 is promises. I actually put a rule in for promises. We keep them. It's a powerful thing to always keep your promises. Commitments, you keep them.
Huge rule, yeah.
Your word, you keep it. It's really simple. And it's more important to do it to the things that you don't tell other people. Like it's the promises you keep to yourself that you told yourself, the things you said to yourself that no one knows about. Those are the hardest ones to keep because it's so easy to say, oh, I'm not going to fast today. I'm going to eat that gummy bear right there. And you may fold sometimes, but you're less likely if you're making it a rule. Like if you honor your rules and you're a stand-up person, you're going to literally live and die by them. Consumption. I put rule number 3 in of consumption. I do not want to consume anything that does not serve me, that is not healthy for me. If it's social media,
Great rule.
I want to consume things that are adding value to my life. People that are doing what I want to do. I only want to pull in resources.
Your body.
That align with what I say I want out of life. I don't want to waste time. I always want to be growing. I always want to be learning, and I always want to be closing. I only want to consume things that will speak to those bullet points. The gym. This is probably my favorite rule. This should have been number 1.
Yeah.
Rule number 4, the gym. I could speak for an hour on this topic, and I won't. The daily taxation of your central nervous system, the daily dues must be paid in this category. For me, it's not about the body. I'm way past like trying to achieve the body. Also in my evolution, my understanding of how I want my body to be is completely changed. I used to be 200 pounds, muscle driven. The gym actually saved my life. I've been doing this for my entire life since childhood. Even as a child, the gym was a savior for me. And then when I fell off the map after high school and like went off to the deep end, it was the gym that was there for me again.
Yeah.
But it really has only not been in my life maybe one time since I've been 8 years old. But the gym for me has become so much more than the body. It is a place for my mind to explore the realm of all the possibilities. All my greatest ideas stem from the gym. All my best creations come from the gym. And the best clarity I can get for things I'm grappling with always start to come into clear focus in the gym. And boom, an aha moment happens. If you ever watched me in the gym and I didn't know you were there, what you would see is me work out, do heavy sets, do a lot of repetition sets, and in between every set, I grab my phone and you see me typing.
I've heard you say
I
this.
pour my heart out into my phone in between sets because my mind's teeming with energy. I also made a change probably about 5 or 6 years ago, and I stopped listening to music completely. I've been listening to music in years. I only listen to podcasts or books. I've listened to hundreds of books in the gym.
That's your consumption rule.
Yeah, exactly. There you go, right?
Yeah.
I'm living it out in the gym too. A lot of these rules will bleed into each other.
Of course, yeah.
But when I hear other people chopping up a topic or listening to another book, I mean, some of these books I've listened to like 7 times.
Yeah.
I will listen to them over and over because it's always a new idea that comes out of it. I will relate that person's situation with all these endorphins that are just teeming through my brain. They're flooding through my mindset. I will attach all those to a problem I have in life, to something I'm trying to achieve in life, to a dream, a vision. And that's where the courage and the confidence comes from. All the confidence in my life comes from endorphins. I literally am hooked on the taxation of my body that creates the endorphins that light the fire.
Love it.
And then I go fucking execute. And a lot of times by the end of the day, when I've exhausted all my flow state, I regret it. I'm like, oh, what did I do? I made such bold declarations to the world, to the universe. I spoke out loud, which is another rule coming up. Next rule, gym could go on ever. I actually separated from gym health. I have a rule about health. This is about sleep. This is about nutrition. And I added this major bullet point into this rule: no alcohol. This is a more recent phenomenon in my life.
Too,
I used to have a lot of occasional drinks. Business meetings, I'd always have a cocktail to loosen the mood. I could give you a story about alcohol. I probably should, just because it's valuable. I was at a Lincoln Day dinner event. This is when I stopped drinking. I was successful in my career, happy, healthy, had the world by the ass. Went to a Lincoln dinner. They started serving me cocktails. Crown and Coke. That was always my go-to. And this was about almost 2 years ago now since my last sip of alcohol. And this lady was awesome. She just kept bringing them. And I don't know how many it was. I wasn't drunk, but it was probably honestly 7 or 8 Crown and Cokes. I'm pounding them. I think they were pretty weak. They were little glasses at a charity event, right? Okay, Lincoln Day dinner. So anyway, my brother's in town with his wife. They're driving with us, and we just drive home after that. It's like 9 o'clock. But I knew I had a lot. Bad decision. Shouldn't have made it. I get pulled over. Woo! And I said, fuck, here we go. This is terrible, but it's true. I think I'm going to go to jail. I just know, like, all right, if he pulls me over, I had so many cocktails, and I just didn't feel drunk. And I'll tell you in a sec what happened, but cop comes up to the window, and he goes, whoa, you guys been drinking tonight? Because I can smell it. And I looked at my brother. I said, how many cocktails did you have? And he goes, he smiled at me. He goes, step out of the car. Come out of the car. Now another cop car pulls in behind. Now it's a big scene. And a third one. And now I got flashlights on me. Come out. I'm in a t-shirt, and a thin shirt. It's freezing. I don't have my coat on, my sport coat. And they will start walking me through the breathalyzer test. And I'm just focused. I'm holding my breath. I'm serious as a heart attack. I got the thing going, follow your eye. And I'm doing every skill in my book to keep it together. And I get through all it. And I feel like they're going longer and longer and longer. Like, when is this going to end? But it ended. And he said, all right, Mr. Rock, have a good day. And there's a woman right there just kind of smiling at me as she's got a flashlight in my face, holding my breath this whole time. And I said, holy shit. It was just a wake-up call, because at this point in my life, the last thing on planet Earth I need is something like that happening.
Yeah.
I'm just too strict of a person. I was strict at that point in my life. I was such a disciplined human. Like, what am I doing? It wasn't until I started doing business with a partner a chip that developed out of it with a billionaire who never had a sip of alcohol in his life that I really got clarity on this subject, because I knew where I was kind of headed. I was getting so optimized with health, longevity, but he never had a cocktail. And I remember one time ordering a drink because it was dinner. I'm in Vegas. I'm at his hotel. I'm having a cocktail at his hotel. He doesn't care. And he ordered an iced tea or something, and I a crown of Coke, like, because it was normal. It's dinner time. I want to break the ice. You know, I think I need it, right? Yeah. Just cause I don't drink at home ever. It's only at dinners. But I'm a guy that goes to dinner all the time. Listen to me, like, try to make it okay. I don't drink at home.
Yeah.
But I ordered a drink and it felt awkward. I just kind of got uncomfortable, and I grabbed the waiter when he came back, and I said, hey, just cancel the drink. I'll do an iced tea also. And from that moment on, it was the last time I had a drink. I already had this bad event happen. Yeah. But I can't tell you, for this to be a rule, I wanted to elaborate, because it's been a game changer in my life. The power that I possess when I go out and I watch everyone, it feels good for the first 2 or 3, but you're lying if you think you feel good after 4, 5, and 6. And everyone gets to 4, 5, and 6. They lie. They say they don't, but they do. And the whole point is when you're destroying all the gut bacteria and you're killing all the hard work that your body does, you destroy. Alcohol kills everything, kills all that bacteria in your gut. You have weeks of work to do with no drinking to get it back to some sort of gut biome that works. And this were all, I could see in people's noses, in their eyes, in their skin. And you didn't get any sleep that night because your body is dying to get the alcohol out of its body. But the point is this, and I will go quicker on the beginning, but I wanted to get to this one because I think it's been, for a lot of people probably listening to this, and I've been asked about this countless times, about food, health, gym, nutrition, and alcohol.
Big one. I mean, it's
a game changer.
I stopped. I was similar to you, just random social situations, but I stopped, and it can't be overstated how powerful it is. I love it, man.
It's huge.
But keep rolling on the show.
I'm going.
I want to hear all the rules.
I'm getting through them, but I can't jump over that alcohol one, because look, this could save someone's life.
If your billionaire partner doesn't drink, why the hell do you need to drink?
It's a good point
out there, whoever's listening to the show.
He has no idea the influence that he's had on my life. He has no idea. And I suggest you get around people that are doing things at the next levels that you want to do. Next rule is a simple rule about emotions, and I call it this: remaining calm in the storm. Okay? This one's huge. It plays to the game. We've already talked about it. You consider death in this one. It's the whole thing that I put together. But just remember this thing. When shit hits the fan, great leaders keep it together. If it's intentional and it's part of your rules, anytime you feel a feeling you don't like, you can take a deep breath and react differently. And you can literally change your life by remaining calm in the storm. Because bad days are coming for you. Whether you like it or not, I like it or not, bad days are coming. If you can just always tell yourself to remain calm in the storm, it will change your behavior. Okay. Honesty. Number 7. We want to have honesty, integrity, and truth in all aspects of our life. This must be the barometer from which all our communication and all our decisions are made from. You got to be honest regardless of the consequences. This is crucial, and this must be a muscle you work out daily, because it's so easy to fib or to craft a scenario that just feels good. Yeah. But it's just not healthy, and people will see through it, and it will speak to people's spidey senses. Yeah. So you got to master this one. Authenticity is number 8. I want vulnerability with authenticity. Your pain will one day become your greatest testimony. My next rule is bleeding hard. I talk about this a lot. People hear it a lot. It's one of my favorite rules. I know when I'm coming through that room that I made a decision to fucking bleed everywhere, to pour it out. When you're intentional about it, Matt, what happens?
This is a signature rock rule, the bleed part. Yeah.
Well, what happens when you bleed hard? If you tell yourself, I'm going to walk in this fucking room and bleed.
Yeah, you have no regrets.
You just set yourself up.
You open doors you couldn't have seen. I mean, that's how I'd say.
Yeah, bleeding hard. All it is a triggered thought that allows you to pour it out and not care about the consequences.
Pouring it all out. I love it. Yeah.
Love, compassion, and empathy. Number 10. I always need to keep that as part of the bleeding out. We bleed out with compassion, love, and empathy. We need this to be part of the trigger process. It really will help you get forward in life if you can live and lead with these words as part of your trigger process. The trigger process is important. You need to create situations in your life where visualization is constantly happening. When you walk into the room, a trigger could go off that really sets you up for a state of being.
It's like an aspect of the game.
Well, Ed talks a lot about this.
Yeah.
It's been one of the big gifts he's given me on clarity. You have to visualize all your goals and dreams every day. You've got to embed this as part of your morning routine and routine throughout the day. When it's always in the front of your vision, and you always are seeing it and speaking
whatever
it out loud.
Habits you have, doorknobs,
you got to
get
getting familiar with it is part of that process, is thinking about it every day. And the second you have a rule for it, every time I did my phone, what if a trigger went off? I mean, it could be when you get in your car door, could be when you walk through a door. That's Brendan Bouchard's rule. When he calls it something about walking through the door.
Yeah.
I'll move on. High standards, rules, and non-negotiables. The one point here about this rule, which is what we're talking about, but you just need to honor them and you need to protect them with your life. You do not break your own rules. That is a rule. Number 14 is red flags. We never ignore them. If you feel it in your gut,
trust your gut. Yeah.
The problem is likely 10 times worse than the red flag would suggest.
I've seen you walk that out. You do that well.
I trust myself now.
Yeah, and it builds a muscle. Once you trust it a few times, you trust it quicker.
Self-belief, self-confidence, and self-awareness. You get what you deserve, and you deserve it all. You have to have this abundant mindset for how much you can achieve in this lifetime. A lot of people, they do the opposite. They talk down to themselves. They tell themselves what they can't do. We want to counter that with a rule. We always believe in our abilities. We always know that if shit hits the fan, like we're going to make it, we are going to come through, we are going to find the light. Flow state. This is a big one. Rule number 17 for me is all about flow state, momentum, energy. I'll just say this. It's important to keep it all day. You don't want to go till 3 o'clock. If your schedule's going to keep you going till 6, you go till 6. You've got to create triggers and habits and routines to stay in a flow state. Mm-hmm. And if you're mindful that you're not in a flow state, there's ways to get back in it. Mm-hmm. Nutrition plays this, gym plays this, how you do healthy life plays this. But at the end of the day, like I can drop down right now and do 100 push-ups right now, get all that blood flowing, and it will reposition the frame of my mindset. Yeah. Okay, next one is 0 negative thoughts. We never want to talk bad about anything or anyone. We always want to take the high road. And if negative thoughts start happening, which is normal, they always do, you could always trigger yourself right out of them. And it's just important to be aware of that.
Yeah, they're going to come up when you...
It happens all the time. I do it all the time.
You just create the option to turn away from them.
I start talking shit about someone, and then I'll instantly
catch yourself. Yeah,
I'll fix it though. At least I feel like I can butt in it and fix it and find some positive thing to say.
That's great.
I try. I'm not perfect.
It's the rule. It's not perfection. Yeah.
Systems and processes and disciplines. If there's an area of life that is chaotic and doesn't have a system or process, I promise you this is important to understand. You can create one. You have the power to create a system or process for any part of your life you don't like. And this is how you scale.
I want to throw in a little nuance on this. Jordan Peterson has this great clip. He's like, look, if you notice a repetitive pattern put down your kid, or there's something that keeps happening in a negative way, you need to correct that. I mean, this rule will be perfect. Create a system around that. Like correct it when you catch it.
High achievers do this, man.
And exactly. If you catch yourself falling into something repeatedly limiting, that just demands your attention. Create a system or new process. But keep going. Keep rolling.
So good. But again, like you start studying high achieving people, and you'll find they create systems for everything.
They do not linger. Yeah.
No. 19. Here we go. I'm getting there. But this is me. Give. Value. We want to be giving value everywhere we go. This should be a dominating thought when you are communicating the world. Are you giving value, or are you just dead weight? So I always consider that, and it just tweaks how I do life. It's a rule. I give value. I want to be valuable. That's good. So when you're thinking about it, it does change how things progress. Exactly. The next one is character, moral fiber, and being a class act. We want to really have these words at the front of our peripheral vision. We want to make sure we're always considering what character and moral fiber looks like. I love the whole notion of being a class act. You know, there's a lot of different definitions of that, whatever it means to you, but it's just good to say it out loud.
It is.
Okay? Faith is one that I've embedded a rule in my life to always be aware of the higher power in everything that I do. I know that God is in all of my decisions. I don't talk about it enough, but I do consider this a very important part of my life. It's a rule of mine. I keep it closer to my heart than most. I just talk about a lot of the other things that you can control for certain, But this is also one you can control, is your commitment to making sure that you bring something bigger than yourself in all of your decisions. Let this Holy Spirit guide you in everything you do, and it really will be a good, soft, like cushion behind all your energy, all your actions, all your failures, all your lessons, all the love. Like it's just a good thing to have, bottom line. Number 22 is a very good one, extreme ownership. Fuck all your poor excuses. There are so many people that just complain, they bitch, they moan, and they don't do anything worthwhile. They never take ownership. These are the ultimate victims in life. But I'll say this, when I'm wrong, I admit it quickly. This is a rule, you guys. Extreme ownership, as part of it is owning your mistakes and not passing the buck off to someone else, like letting it end with you. It's really important to take extreme ownership of everything. The next rule is to be a leader, to be a role model, and to be a hero. Like most people think just because they haven't achieved greatness or some high level of something that they can't be a hero. Do you know the biggest and best heroes in life are just dads?
Yeah.
And moms.
Ordinary day-to-day
and grandmas.
life. Yeah.
If you're intentional about being a hero, it changes how you communicate to people, but it's got to be on the front of your brain. The biggest mistake people make in life is thinking that they can't be a hero to somebody. So make it a fucking rule, and it's a game changer. If you can make being a hero a rule, this will literally be such a game changer for how you communicate. Just do it. Next time you go in a room, be like, I'm going to be a hero for some little boy or little girl in this room. And it's easier to start there because these are the young developing mindsets. It changes how I get down with them, and I want to communicate with them.
Yeah.
You, like, doesn't matter. Like, I'm just going to act differently. Instead of walking the room ignoring something, like I'll spot something because I'm aware of it. It's part of the rule. Be a hero. Now, you're probably thinking right now, is like, pause this. Who could remember this many rules? This doesn't matter. This has become like the obsessive foundation of the person that I am. I live and breathe this stuff. I don't remember them all. Like at the end of the day, like there's an essence about all these that blend together. They coexist and they lock onto each other. They're all valuable. Okay, next rule, 24. I always like to think this, the loss is the win in every situation. Every single loss and failure is littered with silver linings and lessons.
An opportunity.
An opportunity. Bro, this is pure gold. Like if I could give some of these away that are like, what are your favorites? Oh, dude, what are the favorites? If the loss is always the win, like you're always winning. You'll never lose because there are lessons in everything. There's no such thing as a loss. There's only such things as lessons, but you have to be super intentional about that. My next rule, number 25, is relationships. I've always said this, and I think it was Newton that said this. I may be wrong, maybe someone else, but I want to always be a midget perched on the shoulder of a giant. Okay, so I'm looking for those right relationships that can help me see farther than others because of who I'm connected to. And this is important. It is so hard to get in the right room. It's not easy. You have to bring a lot of value. I mean, you have to have an offering, right? But when it's a rule of yours to seek out like high value relationships that can take you places, it's amazing how much toxicity inadvertently that rule pulls out of your life. Because when you're only sourcing solid relationships with the whole mindset of being a midget perched on the shoulder of a giant, your ability to weed out the fat is so much greater. And if you do it every day and you practice it every day, this is amazing. I have a little extra rule that goes with this whole relationships rule, but that is I only want to be in a room with two situations happening. Two situations. I want to be in a room where I'm being pulled up, or I want to be in a room where I'm pulling someone else up who wants it bad. That's it. I don't want to be in a room where there's not some sort of push or pull happening, okay? Stand up and say something. Rule number 26. This is a good one because this has carried me so far. And I love that I've made this a rule in my life. It's something I see daily. I have all this written on a board where it makes it really easy for me to digest all this. But I always come to this one and smile. I had a rule that I established while I was at a funeral. And this was probably when I was 24, 23 years old. I'm 39 years old now. But this rule has really played out in so many unique ways. At some point I realized at a funeral, as someone that I cared about had passed away, like what would a great human, a great man or a great woman, what would they get up and say about this person? Because I knew I wanted to say something, but I was so nervous. I didn't have the courage. I had all these butterflies in my stomach. And it was really painful to like, my palms are sweating. I should be just pouring my heart out for someone that's just passed away. And I'm over there worried about what people think of me. Like, I shouldn't say anything. So I would just, because it got too weird, I just won't say anything. Well, in that one moment, I just stood up and boom, I created a rule. Anytime I have a chance to say something meaningful or purposeful, anytime I've called upon, or if there's a question in the room, I want to get up and say something. I had to use this as a tactic to create a muscle, a fiber that I could stretch.
Habit, yeah.
I stand up and say something. And I do this in all aspects of life. Quick story real quick. This is how I've been seen by Ed Milet, who became my mentor. It's a valuable story. I went to an event because I committed to charity. This is the whole reason of how I got around him. This was my inlet. I made a connection to something that was dear to him. I showed up. There's 1,000 people in the room, maybe less. It was a lot of people in the room. A guy named Erwin McManus was speaking, who's a wonderful speaker, one of the amazing preacher. I'm sure you guys have heard of him. I love Erwin. He's an incredible human. They were going to only ask 3 questions to the audience in a room full of 1,000 people where no one knew who I was. I didn't know who anyone else was. Boom. Like when that rule's in place, your ability to jump in front of everyone else because it's a fucking rule just happens. Yep, right there. Stand up here. Come get the microphone.
Boom.
It's my chance. Hi, my name is Erik Rock from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Love it.
You know what I'm saying? It's my ability to stand up past 1,000 people and leave a mark. And you don't, if you're in that position, you want to then bleed. Use one of your other rules. Bleed in the room that you're in. Don't be blasé.
I'll add to this too, and there's not enough time to unpack other stories. Erik's going through all these rules, but I've heard stories, several actually, where he's done that same dang thing that he did at that Ed Milet event in other contexts.
Yeah,
so this isn't an abstraction. And the doors, this particular rule, I've just observed open in his life because of it. So I just want to throw that back to you as a friend who's actually witnessed you walk some of these out.
Thanks, bro.
You are walking them out. What's the next one?
Appreciate it. I'm going to cap that one by just saying, my ability to be seen, heard, and have a message that day, it played out in some unique ways that day. Number one, I ended up getting an opportunity to do one-on-one mentorship with him. Yeah. I wouldn't say that was the reason, but at the end of the day, like it catapulted me to the top of the food chain, right?
Yeah.
Because I said something compelling. I talked about death, which we're all going to face, and the room went silent. I could tell that I racked Erwin McManus's brain. Like I really got him to ponder something that was heavy, that was full of vulnerability. Like that's what bleeding looks like, is to pour it out and to go to these heavy places. And this is how you stay memorable. But at the end of the day, you know how many people came in that room and thanked me? We went to a party that night at Ed's house. All these people, one by one, all night.
That's awesome.
Friends that I made today that are now dear friends of mine. So many people came up to me. One person came to me and cried. She held me. She said, I know exactly how you feel. Like my testimony was part of the struggle that she was going through and things people that she lost, and she just unloaded. But you'll never know like what you could have made out of that situation if you don't say anything, if you don't stand up and make some sort of declaration in the world. And when the universe hears you, it'll put... One thing that happens is it puts pressure on your back. When you have pressure on your back, it creates actions that would have never happened. Most people stay out of the pressure, though. They love comfort. Comfort is a hell of a drug. So create a rule that gets you out of your comfort zone, and you'll be fine. Okay, charity is the next rule. It's rule number 27. This is all about philanthropy, and this is about the give back, okay? Success is not measured in how much money you make or keep. Success is measured by how much you give. And I think the rest just explains itself there. 28 is fear. I actually have a fear rule. I recognize fear I try to recognize it as a thought, but the truth is it's a feeling. The second I feel it, I turn it into a thought because I feel like it's much easier to control fear when I see it as a thought. Okay? Because it's just easier to push it aside. I don't need to let that feeling overwhelm me and tear me down. So I feel the fear, I embrace it, and I jump anyway. It's just become a rule, and now I spot it, I recognize it, I see it. 29, we always find a way to win, and there's always a way, and I always go back to the chessboard. When you think it's over, it's not, keep going. Never stop, never quit, find the win, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. 31 is personal brand. This is a 24/7 process, and this is something I'm really learning about right now in real time. I added this on at the end. There's one more that I slid in there, but personal brand. You are the brand. It never ends. You're always representing something, whether you realize it or not. Most people don't even realize they are a brand, and they're never taking responsibility for it. But you need to act like you are the brand. You need to step up to the plate. You need to step into the light. And the truth is this is how stars are born. And my last rule is passion, purpose, and making sure your why is always on the table every single day. These should always be the guiding forces in your life that's pulling you. If you get out of alignment with those three words, you must course correct quickly. This is where self-awareness, another rule, kicks back in. But if you're out of alignment with your why, your purpose, like you need to spot it quickly. And you got to have these rules in place to sort of constantly be shifting you. But this is really, in my opinion, the foundation that you could set up to create someone that can really make waves in the marketplace.
Yeah, and I want to ask two questions to wrap this talk on leadership with regard to the rules. Like the very fact that you even took the time to contemplate, differentiate. One thing that I hear throughout your whole story, and I've observed this, so this is powerful. I'm going to look at the camera on this. Like people, if you clarify a rule like Erik's done in any one of these domains, it's like your consciousness all of a sudden sees options in your day you did not literally see before.
Yeah.
And I've watched you do that. Like, and it's the cool thing as a listener to this is I've watched you act out several of these rules habitually. It's like, so what would you say to someone who, like, where to begin? Do they, I'm obviously, if they're inspired by aspects of your rules, but what's your process as you've compiled these? How do you bring your awareness over and over back to them? Are they habit at this point? Like what's your...
Yeah, the whole goal is to actually make goals, habits, rituals, and routines. I would say it's the barometer that helps you make decisions so they become like, instinctual in you.
Yeah.
But just saying the word out loud, whatever the thing is, the phrase, the word, it realigns you in such a subtle way, but such an impactful way. You need to be speaking these things into existence constantly. It changes how the opportunities come your way. It changes what you're going to say and do. It just changes everything.
Yeah.
But I realize as I study the people I look up to, like, fuck, there's levels to this. And these people are nuts. They're psychotic with their rules.
Yeah,
and they don't tell people a lot. Like these are dear to them. Like these core values, like mine are a lot. People break it down to 5 or 6.
Sure.
I really went full with it.
There's value in really making subtle distinctions just because it creates...
Yep.
It's not in the magic of the number 32.
No. And I didn't want to end on a weird number. Going back to
your uncle's story, I was so moved by that. Like it's, I think this is a good example of, because when you hear a story like that, particularly at his funeral, so many people being moved by his devotion, you can't help but wonder what's inside a man like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the arc. And,
yeah. I totally get it. And the big question that I got from that was, what are people going to say at my funeral?
Yeah, exactly.
And the question I have for the audience is, what things are people going to say at your funeral? That's a really hard question to ask. If you had to write your eulogy, what would that say? Like, consider the end.
Yeah.
And that'll change how you do decisions right now. It'll change how you do decisions in the next 5 minutes. You'll do life differently with your wife. You'll do life differently with the person at Starbucks. You'll do life differently everywhere you go. But people aren't thinking about the end, and they're not taking that as power for their situations today.
The other thing I'd add too, in my experience, when I've created a rule, once I've committed to it fully, it takes all the resistance out of it. It's not like I can't imagine you're like, oh man, these 32 heavy rules. No. Like I made a decision.
It's the opposite.
Like exactly, it's freeing. It frees up all kinds of bandwidth. So it's not like I have 32 things in my head. But like I also quit alcohol as an example, or there's another one.
Amazing.
I just decided not to do X because I've made that deep decision. Decide, by the way, I love the roots of this word. It's like to kill off. I've literally killed off all those options, and I don't get into an inner resistance with it. And it's because you seem lighthearted in your day. It's not like you're burdened or like...
No, I love this. So I'm in my passion, in my flow state. It's hard to fuck with me. I'm unfuckable with.
Yeah, it's not... I think...
It's powerful, man.
It's like discipline is freedom, extreme ownership.
Exactly.
They actually free up your mind. Your mind is actually...
Yes.
When you live by a standard... it's now open to, like you said earlier, the inspiration of the Holy Spirit. How can I love this person in the moment? Because I'm not like trying to be this or that.
Yeah. Discipline gives you so many more options. How have you seen some of these rules change your life?
Yeah, exactly. Are you asking me that?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's podcast 2.0.
Even alcohol.
Yeah.
Well, how has that transformed
I'll give
you?
one. Well, alcohol, I was never run by it at a deep level or addicted, but it was more of alcohol is a health and energy thing. So like you were saying, it destroys your gut biome. You can't get away. Even the recent research that's running around out there online is even a couple drinks a week has like consequences for weeks.
It does.
So here's the alcohol thing. It comes from this rule, which I share with your consumption rule. It's like, and I've adopted this from a physician I admire. There's no greater physical asset in your life than your physical body. So if you think about that, your investments, your house, actually that's true. There's no actually asset in my possession than my body. So I will only put things in my body that are healthy for me.
It'll serve you.
Yeah. So
it's a great rule.
Like your consumption rule is like no brainer. And once I've made that decision, it's this year that I've really put that in deeply into place.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm struggling with it.
Yeah.
I'm not like, oh, where are the Doritos? Like,
can I tell you too, what the most beautiful thing is from my perspective?
Yeah.
Is there are some things in life that you can't buy, you can't manipulate, you can't steal, you can't gift, you can't borrow them, you can't win them. You got to earn them.
Yeah.
And money is not one of those things. But I'll tell you what is your body. You have to earn it. And when you show up to a thing, when you walk in the room, like you're going to go and bleed everywhere, right? That's one thing to go in and bleed everywhere. It's one thing to come in and bleed everywhere and be a fat person that's totally unhealthy and it's clear you have no discipline in your life. It's a whole nother thing to step into a room and own every ounce of your energy. You own it wholly from your toes to your top hair.
And also, I'll add this layer to this before we wrap. Like it's actually out of humility because people, for whether you like it or not, like a great definition of health from Dr. Sean O'Mara. I love his stuff, but he's like, health is appearance and performance. You have to respect that people, they take in how you appear. And if you're not,
it matters.
If you're not vital or healthy, you don't have to be tall, hot, forget all the other attributes. You just have to be healthy. Like,
show you care.
Do you have radiance going out of you? And if you don't, they don't trust you. Yep. And then therefore your word has less impact, your leadership.
Yep.
It all,
You're so right. It is the one thing that speaks whether you want it to or not. It tells a story about you. And so you better consider how you present yourself. Your body is the ultimate street sign.
And speaking, just to bring this home to wrap the leadership topic for today, like, I don't know, in primitive times, if there's like a man or woman standing on a hill and there's scary lions out there, I'm not going to want to follow them unless they look strong, vibrant, and healthy.
Yeah, facts.
I'm just not. I mean, that you're gonna submit to their leadership if they're healthy, just as one of your rules. But
can you think about this like for a second? It's like I've always thought about this like employees in general. We've had so many over the years, obviously, but I think about like because I put a lot of love and energy into them. But I always think like you show up like this, looking like that, not caring the way you do about yourself. It's very clear that how do you think I'm going to trust you to care about things that are important to me if you don't clearly even take care of your own self? You don't make your own bed. How would I expect you to make my bed?
So let me, let's just, since we're up on time, I want you to wrap this, Erik, like in terms of awakening the leader within. Last question, what would be right now? So every leader we're rocking through all these podcasts with great guests. And one cool thing is to discover that every leader is now facing an uncertain unknown. Like they're willing to continually tackle something new. Where's the cusp of leadership challenging you today? Like right now, real time. Where are you feeling challenged as a leader today? Let's wrap with that question.
Yeah, in this moment, I'm looking up because my brain's racking of like, what is my biggest challenge as it pertains to like forward momentum, which embodies leadership. I put a ton of pressure on myself to become somebody, to really like leave a mark on this planet. And the hardest thing is to get full clarity on what that lane looks like. But I would say that for the first time in my life, as it pertains to this whole personal brand thing, which has really the potential to do anything you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm doing it.
You're doing it
right here. So to take it to the next level, to really double down, triple down, quadruple down, I know the formula. I just spoke it. So now it's going to be acting it out in real time,
walking it
and
out,
silencing the imposter voices that constantly tell me like, oh, this is embarrassing, or this is like I'm doing too much. Like, all the things that like people tell me, like in, my family, oh, Erik, are you okay? People are always worried about me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like it's off-putting that I'm doing so much and going so hard after my dreams. You know what I mean? Like you always kind of get that, like tone it down. And I'm like, oh, like I want to be around people that are like, no, go for it. This is like push me into the darkness. And you need to be around the right people to do that. It's not, a lot of people project their uncomfortable nature on you. And it's easy to get trapped in that. If you're not around people that are propelling you forward, it's so easy to be trapped and pulled backwards into their reality.
Yeah.
And so for me, like trying to really figure out how to really do this, it's a challenge because there's a lot of scary stuff you're gonna have to do. I mean, my biggest fear is stepping on a stage. Literally, it's my biggest fear.
Coming up, baby.
The gut feeling of like the blink, like the thoughts of how my brain will shut down as my nerves build up and the tongue sticking to the top of my mouth. I've had a dry mouth before on stage. Like I've done it before. That's why I know it sucks so bad. I've never worked out of that and figured it out. So now I'm making a commitment to that. It'll play out in real time. And I need to get comfortable with the light. Like it is so hard to be comfortable stepping in the light where the spotlight's on you. But I realize now that if I'm going after notoriety, fame, success, wealth, power even, well, now I have a purpose behind it. It's to do good in the world. It's to leave a mark worthwhile. And that's really helped solidify my position as a leader, because I don't want it for the sake of just having it or for monetary things.
Onto something greater.
Yeah, now it's helped me. And I got a lot of clarity from using superhero power. If you have the potential to be a superhero, using it for good, and that's solved that problem for you. Now it's going to be just acting it out in real time. And we're here.
That's awesome, man. All right, awakening the leader within.
I'm a man on a mission.